Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your sources, pull out the key insights, and hopefully leave you well informed, maybe even a bit surprised. Today, we're diving into something that sounds a bit like a contradiction, doesn't it? Getting really serious computing power, but, without the huge box taking up space, we're doing a deep dive into the AtomMan G7 PT, mini PC. So our mission today really is to unpack how this machine kind of defies expectations for its size, how it delivers serious performance, in this surprisingly compact package. We've pulled everything straight from a detailed review, so let's get into it.
Okay, so let's unpack this. When you first see the AtomMan G7 PT, mini is right there in the name. Did the review find it felt, I don't know, compromised? Or did something so small immediately feel, well, substantial?
Yeah, it's actually quite striking how much impact it makes right out of the box. The review really emphasized this isn't, just another small form factor machine off the shelf. It's got this slick gunmetal gray chassis, some subtle angular styling too. It sort of balances that industrial robust feel with a modern minimalist look. Okay.
Size-wise, think roughly hardcover novel.
Yeah.
But the feel.
Yeah.
It's got this genuinely reassuring solidity, a nice heft to it that it immediately suggests quality components inside, not some flimsy scaled-down thing.
That's pretty impressive. Sounds like the build quality got a real thumbs up. Now, for something that compact, connectivity, that's usually the first thing to go, right? Forces you into using dongles for everything. How did they tackle that here?
Well, what's really quite remarkable here is just how much connectivity they've actually managed to integrate. It seems like they specifically designed it to avoid needing those external hubs and dongles that, plague so many other small machines.
Right. So what have we got?
Okay, on the front panel alone, you get a really versatile USB-C that actually doubles as a DisplayPort 2.0 output.
Oh, clever.
Yeah, plus 2 standard USB-A ports, a 3.5mm audio jack. Oh, and the power button, it has this really satisfying click. Little detail, but nice.
Okay, and the back.
The rear panel is where it really gets generous. You got HDMI 2.1, another DisplayPort 2.0.
Wow, 2 display ports.
Exactly, which is fantastic if you want to hook up multiple high-res, high-refresh monitors, right? Then there are 2 more USB-A ports, one's fast charge capable, and another full-strength USB-C just for data. And get this, twin Ethernet jacks. One's 2.5 gig, the other standard gigabit.
2 Ethernets. Why?
Well, redundancy, maybe specific networking setups, linking systems, gives you options. Plus, clearly labeled antenna connectors for Wi-Fi 7 and even a Kensington lock.
Okay, that is a lot.
It really is. It means you can genuinely hook up multiple displays, your drives, all your bits and pieces, pretty much seamlessly. No hub needed.
That's genuinely impressive for the size, but, with such a tight exterior, you always wonder, did they have to cut corners inside? What did the review find when they looked under the hood?
Right. Well, getting inside is actually pretty straightforward. You just undo a few screws on the base, pop it off, and the layout inside is surprisingly neat. And the heart of it, the CPU, is AMD's Ryzen 9 7945HX.
Okay, I know that chip. That's serious hardware.
It really is. 16 cores, 32 threads. It's built on their latest Zen 4 architecture. And putting that kind of chip, which usually powers like full-size gaming desktops, into a mini PC, well, that says a lot about the thermal design they must have pulled off. Keeping that cool in a small box is no small feat.
16 cores.
Wow.
And it's not just the CPU, I assume. What about RAM and storage?
Exactly. It's not just the processor. Alongside that beast, the review unit had 32 gigs of fast DDR5 RAM running at 5200 megahertz.
Nice.
And for storage, you get 2 M.2 slots. One supports PCIe 4.0. The other is ready for PCIe 5.0 SSDs when they become more common. So some serious future-proofing there.
Very forward-thinking.
Yeah. The unit they tested came with a 1 terabyte PCIe 4.0 drive already installed. And as you'd expect, that meant super snappy boot times, applications launching almost instantly. It's a properly high-end setup inside.
Okay, this really does change the game for mini PCs, doesn't it? But the big question for many, can something this small actually handle modern gaming? Or is the mini name still a clue about, graphical limitations? What did the review find, GPU-wise?
Well, connecting this to the bigger picture, you could argue the GPU performance here fundamentally redefines what a mini PC can even do. It really challenges that whole perception that compact means compromised graphics. It's packing an AMD Radeon RX 7600M XT that comes with 8 gigs of GDDR6 memory.
Okay, a 7600M XT. That's a mobile GPU, but a pretty capable one.
A very capable one. The review makes it crystal clear, don't let the size fool you. This GPU is potent.
Potent? How potent? Give us the numbers, the juicy detail.
All right. So for modern AAA games, think the big demanding titles. At 1080p resolution running on high to ultra settings, it averaged around 90 frames per second.
90. That's smooth.
Very smooth. It only dipped into the mid-70s in the really intense moments. And even bumping up to 1440p, you're looking at a solid 60 FPS, maybe with a few minor setting tweaks.
What about ray tracing? The fancy lighting stuff.
Ah, yes. It supports ray tracing. Performance there was more demanding, hovering in the high 30s FPS. So for ray tracing, the review recommended maybe dialing back some other settings or using AMD's FSR upscaling tech.
Right, the Fidelity FX super resolution.
Exactly. Their clever AI trick to boost frame rates by rendering lower res and then upscaling intelligently. It works pretty well. But switch over to esports titles or less GPU-heavy games like Valorant, Rocket League.
Yeah.
Flawless. Over 200 frames per second. Easy. So this isn't just for casual play. It's a genuine gaming contender.
Okay, so, wow. Powerful CPU, potent GPU, all crammed into this little box. Which brings us to the elephant in the room for small machines. Heat and noise. Especially when you're pushing it hard. How did the AtomMan G7 PT handle the stress? And then what about actually taking it places? How portable is it in the real world for, say, long gaming sessions or heavy work?
Yeah, that's always the challenge, isn't it? The designers clearly thought about it hard. AtomMan put in dual heat pipes connecting both the CPU and the GPU to a pair of high-velocity fans. Under sustained load, like heavy gaming, the CPU peaked around 88 degrees Celsius. The GPU hit about 82.
Okay. How does that stack up? Is that good?
For the sheer amount of power inside such a compact chassis, yeah, those temperatures are entirely respectable, well within safe limits.
Then the noise from those high-velocity fans.
You definitely hear it under heavy stress. The review measured it around 48 decibels. It's an audible whir, for sure. But importantly, when it's idling or just doing light office work, browsing, that kind of thing, it's practically silent.
Okay, that's a good balance. Audible when working hard, quiet otherwise. What about the portability aspect then? Is it truly grab and go?
Well, there's one catch, maybe. It needs power, and that comes from a pretty chunky 230-watt external power brick.
Ah, the brick. Always the brick.
Always the brick. It does hum quietly when it's plugged in, but the review noted it isn't overly massive, still manageable for travel. The PC unit itself, it weighs about 1.2 kilos, so just over 2.5 pounds, and dimensions are under 20 centimeters on each side.
So pretty small.
Yeah, definitely fits easily into a backpack alongside a laptop. You just need to make sure you budget space for that power brick too. But for what it offers, yes, it's genuinely portable.
Makes sense. Power needs space.
Exactly. So beyond the power and the portability, this brings up another important point for lots of users, right? How easy is it to actually maintain this thing? Can you upgrade it down the line? And what's the software like when you first turn it on?
Good questions. Did the review find it easy to get inside for upgrades?
Yeah, the review mentioned AtomMan did a good job making the internals accessible if you want to customize or upgrade later on. Those M.2 slots for the SSDs and the SO-DIMM slots for RAM are mounted on rails, apparently. Makes them easy to reach.
So swapping in a second SSD or maybe bumping the RAM up to, say, 64 gigs? That's doable.
Seems pretty straightforward, yeah. The only minor hurdle mentioned was that the screws holding the base plate on are quite small. But as the review pointed out, nothing a little magnetic screwdriver can't handle easily.
Okay, manageable. And the software experience? Any annoying pre-installed bloatware?
Nope. Refreshingly clean, apparently. Just a standard Windows 11 Pro installation. And crucially, it came with the latest chipset and GPU drivers already installed and ready to go.
That saves some hassle.
It does. And they also include a simple little utility program. Lets you monitor temperatures, adjust the fan curves if you want that fine grain control. A nice touch for enthusiasts.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly positive. High performance, good thermals, upgradable, clean software. But often mini PCs, especially ones with discrete GPUs like this, come with a, shall we say, premium price tag. So how does the AtomMan G7 PT stack up on value? What's the damage to the wallet, and who is this really aimed at?
Yeah, you're right. It's definitely positioned in the premium mini PC category. The price mentioned in the review was just under £1,200.
Okay, so not cheap, but maybe justified.
Well, that's the argument. When you actually factor in what you're getting, that cutting-edge Ryzen 9 CPU, the pretty powerful, discrete Radeon GPU, the fast DDR5 RAM, the flexibility of having 2 SSD slots, including PCI 5.0 support.
Yeah.
The review concludes it actually represents remarkably good value for the performance package.
How does it compare, say, to building a similar spec desktop tower or a gaming laptop?
Compared to building a tower with similar specs or buying a high-end gaming laptop that could match this performance. The review suggested the G7 PT often comes out quite favorably on price, especially considering the compact form factor.
Right, the size itself adds value for some people?
Exactly. So who's the ideal user then?
Yeah, who should be seriously considering this?
The review pegs it as ideal for really the vast majority of gamers, also content creators, power users,
Yeah.
basically anyone who wants a genuinely potent workstation, but also values portability or just doesn't want a massive tower.
Are there limitations? Who isn't it for?
W- Well, the review did acknowledge it won't replace a giant, custom-cooled desktop for someone who absolutely demands dead silence under the heaviest loads, or someone planning to push absolutely every graphical setting to the max at 4K resolution. For those extreme edge cases, a full-size rig still has advantages.
Makes sense, but for most people.
But for pretty much everyone else looking for high performance in a small package, yeah, the review positions it as a truly standout device.
So wrapping this up, whether you're looking to game hard, create content, or just blast through demanding work tasks, it sounds like the AtomMan G7 PT mini PC is this exceptional blend. Raw power, smart compact design, thoughtful engineering. It really seems to deliver that big leap performance, but in a footprint that's surprisingly small.
Absolutely. And, it really makes you think, doesn't it, how machines like this, so compact yet so powerful, are really starting to blur those old lines between traditional desktops and portable devices. What does that mean for the future of our setups, both at home and maybe when we're out and about? It's definitely a fascinating shift to consider for your next upgrade.